What's up, vapors? Nick here for Spin Fuel's Daily Vape TV. Today I have an e-liquid review for you. I have the full line of high voltage vapors. Today we're going to be doing a bit of a flavor review and talking about the effects of caffeine on your body when you're vaping it. First up, we're just going to go through all the flavors. I want to mention that I'm vaping on this Black Hawk mod here, doing a little bit of a throwback. I'm vaping a 0.32 ohm dual 24 gauge build, and I have some Kogendo cotton in there. I'm changing cotton in between all my flavors, just like always, just to keep the flavor nice and pure. First up, we're going to be taking a look at shock treatment. So the flavor profile on this one is pomegranate apple, and I've been vaping this stuff for a while now. I've actually had to stop vaping it in my other mods just so I can do this review. I really like this flavor a lot, I can tell you that right now. Produces a lot of vapor. I'm not sure the actual PG-VG ratio of these liquids. I did try to contact the manufacturer, but I didn't get a response from them. I'm guessing it's somewhere around 60 to 70% VG, but again, that's just a guess, so don't take my word for it. Let's go ahead and take our first vape off of this stuff. So as you may have noticed, this stuff produces plenty of clouds, and I think it's around 60 to 70% VG. I'm not quite certain, but as you can see, the consistency is a little bit more runny than a higher VG liquid. Maybe just my imagination though. The flavor though, that is what really gets me on this stuff. This is really good flavor. Blends really well. You get the really sweet pomegranate flavor, and it definitely cuts through, which a lot of my other pomegranate liquids, you really don't notice the pomegranate flavor too much, but the apple gives a really nice sweet aftertaste. It's almost like a candy apple. In that sense, it's really good in my mind. So one more take here. One thing I've noticed about these e-liquids is they're all very sweet. This one definitely has more of a candy note to it, which I can attest to the apple in it. Definitely more of a candy flavor, really good satisfying vape. Great for any time. I don't know if it's an all-day vape for me, but it is really good. So for the flavor, I'm going to give this one a 4. For the vapor, I'll give it a 3.5, and for the throat hit, I'll give it a 3.5. Alright, so that does it for shock treatment. Let's move on to our next flavor. Alright, so I just re-wicked, and now we're rocking some Tesla, and the flavor description on this one is kiwi dragon fruit, and that's not at all what I expected out of a bright blue liquid. Hopefully you can see that. It's got a really bright blue color to it. So let's give it one shot real quick, and I'll describe it. So for me, this one is very hard to detect either flavor in it. I've never really had too many kiwi vapes before. I've had a few dragon fruits, but they've all tasted a little bit different. Definitely couldn't detect either one of them in this as far as, you know, picking out individual flavors. But overall, it makes a good blend. It's almost a bit sour in a way. You kind of expect this one to have like a blue raspberry flavor to it, so I think that's like my mind playing tricks on me or something. But overall, I think it's a very good flavor. It's very sour, a little bit of sweet. Maybe not an all-day vape for me personally, but it is pretty good. I was vaping this one at a super high wattage, and it stood up really well to the heat, so there's that factor as well. Let's go ahead and take another vape here. One thing I'm enjoying about this is the exhale. It just rolls across your tongue and across your taste buds, and it just tastes really good. So I'm enjoying this one as much as I can, but I definitely couldn't vape it all day long. Overall though, it is a good flavor. So for this one, for the flavor, I'll give it a 3.5. For the vapor, I'll give it a 4, and for the throat hit, a 3.5 as well. There's a little bit extra something in there for the throat hit. That's not so enjoyable for me personally. It might be the sourness to it, but overall though, this is a good flavor, as I've said. Let's go ahead and re-wick and move on to the next one. Okay, we're all re-wicked. Our next flavor is going to be Short Circuit. The flavor description reads, melon cream with berries. And I'm a huge melon vape fan. I love berry vapes as well, so the mixture of these two just make for something really special. I started vaping this one right when I got it, and I had to put it down, had to put it on the shelf for a little while because I knew I was going to just blow through the whole bottle if I didn't. So with that being said, let's just have a vape. I feel like the flavor description on this one is definitely accurate. You get a lot of that melon flavor, you get the nice cream, and then right after that you get the berries. The exhale is all berry and cream, where the inhale is all melon and cream, which is awesome. I love the blending of flavors in there. I do notice that the melon flavor is just kind of bland. It's just there basically. Wish it could be a little bit more sweeter. Personally, I've never seen a melon and cream vape, so this is very unique for me and I'm really enjoying it. Could be an all-day vape for me, and let's just go ahead and have another vape. Very smooth, very mellow vape, and it's actually quite relaxing, especially considering it's mixed with caffeine, which is a little bit ironic. But in any case, an all-day vape for me, and I'm really enjoying this one. So for the flavor, I'm going to give this one a 4.5. For the vapor, I'll give it a 4.5 as well. And for the throat hit, I'll give it a 3.5. It's a little bit lacking in the throat hit department, to be honest. But as far as the vapor production, obviously, it's just chucking clouds. So in that aspect, it's very good. Definitely one of my top favorites in this bunch here, so let's go ahead and rewick. Okay, so our next flavor is Diode, and the flavor description is creamy orange peach blend. And I'm going to definitely agree with this one. As with all these liquids, I've been vaping it for a while, and with this one, I definitely get the sweet and sour notes to the orange, and I think it's more like a clementine or a tangerine. It's a soury kind of citrus flavor, which is really nice, and it contrasts well with a sweet peach to it, and the cream just kind of blends all the way through the entire mix. So with that being said, let's go ahead and have a vape. Now with this one, you don't get the same cream flavor as you do on the short circuit. This one's a light cream to it. It's very subtle, but it is noticeable. First thing that hits you is definitely the citrus flavor, and then it rounds it out with a nice peach, and the cream finishes it off. And like I said, it's a very subtle cream flavor. This one's quite relaxing, considering that citrusy punch that it delivers right on the inhale. But overall, the blend is really nice, and I'm really enjoying it so far. So let's go ahead and have another vape. One thing I would like to see more in this e-liquid is more of that peach flavor. I'm a big peach fan, so any more peach and I'm a happy guy. That's one thing that I believe is a little bit lacking in this one. Other than that though, I love the difference in citrus flavors that you get out of it. You don't see a lot of that variation on the original, standard citrus flavor or standard orange flavor. So I'm really liking that fact. The other thing that really makes it for me is the light cream on it. I'm glad they didn't go with a thick, heavy cream flavor. It's just a subtle note in the background, which is really good. So for the flavor on this one, I'm going to give it a 4. For the vapor, I'll give it a 4. And for the throat hit, I'll give it a 4. So 4s across the board on this one. Overall, very, very good. Could be an all-day vape for me. So that's it. That's all for Diode. Let's move on to our next one. So our final energy-infused e-liquid flavor for today is Transformer, and the flavor description reads, a sweet berry blend. I get a lot of the berry flavor out of this one, but for me it's not a very great berry flavor, and it has a bit of like a chemically taste to it. So for me, this one kind of missed the mark, but I'm going to go ahead and vape it for you guys anyways and give a full description on it. So let's go ahead and vape it up. And just to note, I have tried this in other atomizers with other builds before, and I do get the same flavor every time. The berry flavor on this one is just not quite my flavor, not quite my taste, not really up to my personal standards. For you other guys out there, maybe you would enjoy this one a little bit more than I would, but me personally, this is definitely not my vape. The berries, you can't really determine what's in there. Really couldn't tell you off the top of my head either. And the vapor production that I get off of this is not quite as good as the other ones. Not exactly sure what the big difference is about this e-liquid than the other ones, but for me it's just definitely not my taste. Let's have one more vape here. So for me, this one kind of missed the mark a little bit. Not really sure why I don't enjoy it that much. Maybe it's just not my type of flavor. I have tried other berry blends before and they've been a little bit better than this one. Maybe it's just that I don't like berry blends that much. Could be that fact as well. So for the flavor, I'll give this one a 3. It's not terrible, but it's definitely not my preferred vape, especially out of this line. For the vapor, I'll give it a 3. It does underperform as far as the other ones are concerned. Not quite as much vapor with the same exact build. I've been using this thing this whole review, so and as far as the throat hit, it is decent, so I'll give it a 4. Everyone's different. Everyone's palates are going to be a little bit different, so maybe it's just a subjective thing in my opinion. You know, it's just not quite there. Kind of missed the mark for me personally, but some of you might enjoy it, so I'll say give it a shot, see what you think about it, and then make the final judgment there. Alright, so for our last and final flavor, we have something a little bit different. This one's called Lights Out, and it's a melatonin infused e-liquid. So let's go ahead and re-wick it, and I'll get to that review. Just kidding. So this one is a raspberry chai flavor, and it is infused with melatonin, which is supposed to help you get sleepy. As for the flavor, it is nice. I like the chai flavor in it. The raspberry is a little less noticeable, but overall it is pretty good. It's very relaxing. With that being said, let's go ahead and have a vape. All in all, I'm really enjoying the flavor on this one. It's like sipping on a warm cup of tea before bed. Definitely relaxing, and you get the chai spice in there with a hint of raspberry, which is really great. Not something I would vape all day, nor would I recommend vaping it all day, considering it's not meant to be vaped all day long, but for right before bed or after dinner or something like that, just to cool you down, relax you, I think it's definitely doing its job. So that being said, let's have one more puff and I'll get to my ratings. So as for the flavor, I'm really enjoying the chai spices on this one, and that hint of raspberry definitely helps out. It almost gives it a slight sour note to it, but nothing over the top or anything like that. So for the flavor, I'll give it a 4. For the vapor, I'll give it a 4 as well, because it does perform better than the Transformer, which I tried last. And as for the throat hit, I'll give it a 3.5. Definitely nothing too powerful, doesn't really kick you in the back of the throat too much, which in my mind that's a good thing. So if you're looking for a chill vape, I definitely recommend this one. Not something I would vape for a long time or anything like that, but you know, for an addy that you have laying around that you want to just pop on a mod before bed and just have a quick in-bed sesh before you fall asleep, definitely recommend it. So give this one a shot. So that about wraps up the flavor review portion of this video. Next, I want to get on the topic of vaping caffeine and its effects on your body. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to Melinda from High Voltage. Thank you so much for this opportunity, for sending these samples along. I really had a blast testing these things out, and the flavors on these are really great. So High Voltage, in my book, comes highly recommended on the flavor portion. So I really wanted to know what the effects of vaping caffeine would be before I started my review. So I did a whole bunch of research on this fact. These e-liquids have all been infused with caffeine, except for the last one, which has melatonin in it. So I wanted to know the actual effects of vaporizing caffeine and how much you would need, if it is a placebo effect or what. And what I came up with is really quite intriguing. I learned that in order to vaporize caffeine and have it affect your body the same way a cup of coffee would or an energy drink or something like that, you'd need a really high concentration. Nicotine has an effect on the caffeine in this e-liquid, which would actually break down the molecules over time. So the longer you let these steep, the worse the effect of the caffeine is actually going to be on your body. So my recommendation to you would be skip the caffeine in the e-liquid, go straight for an energy drink or a cup of coffee, something you normally do to get your caffeine. The only thing that caffeine can do in e-liquid is further pressure the FDA to regulate this stuff. So the last thing I want to see is more and more regulations on e-liquid and on vaping. I don't know about you guys, but I do like my morning cup of coffee, and this is definitely no substitute to that. I'd rather just vape on a good flavored e-liquid while drinking my cup of coffee rather than risking, you know, my business being shut down based on something stupid as including caffeine or melatonin or anything besides the normal chemicals in e-liquid itself. Alright, so this is the advocate in me talking right now. Leave the food coloring out of e-liquid. If you have great flavors, your customers are going to buy your products no matter what. So why bother putting extra stuff in there that you don't need, like caffeine, food coloring, stuff like that. You don't need it in your e-liquid. I recommend taking it out immediately. As you can see, these flavors are highly colored. You know, you have blue and green and red and all sorts of other colors. And I just don't think it's really necessary. You can have a fancy label all you want, go nuts with that fact, but leave the food coloring out. The only thing it's going to do is draw negative attention to you and give the FDA and the government other things to nitpick about when it comes to regulating this stuff. So do yourself and the industry a favor and just take the food coloring out, take the additives out, take anything that's infused or anything like that, take it out of e-liquid. You know, it's hard enough to get nicotine past the government at this point, but the last thing we need is more negative press, and they're going to say that you're advertising towards kids and all that stuff. So just do yourself a favor, do your business a favor, and take the food coloring out of e-liquid. Do us all a favor. Hate to say it, hate to be the bearer of bad news, hate to be the bad guy, you know, but I just have to mention that fact. Anyone that's using a good quality e-liquid and the flavors on point, like High Voltage, like I said, I'm really enjoying these flavors. The only bad part about them is all the extra stuff in there that I'm not a big fan of. High Voltage, you have a great flavor base. I love your flavors, but just take the extra stuff out. It's really not necessary, and it's a little bit gimmicky to me, and the caffeine, it's all placebo effect, so why bother, you know, why bother doing it? Really hope you all don't hate me at this point, so please let me know what you think about all this stuff in e-liquid in the comments below, and we can discuss it there. So that about does it for the video. Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, favorite, and subscribe. Check out my Facebook page. Follow me on Twitter and Instagram @DailyVapeTV. And as always, vape on.